A new government for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. 7 women will now take their seats in Parliament, and COVID-19 cases surpassing 20,000. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lissy Bastian with your Jcn News for this Friday, September 17th. Thanks for staying with us. It's official. Leader of the Progressive Liberal Party, Philip Davis, has been sworn in as the 5th Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Mr. Davis was sworn in during a private ceremony held at the office of the Governor General at 1 Montague Place. But just before being sworn in and following the landslide victory of the PLP on Thursday, Mr. Davis, along with his wife, arrived from Cat Island Friday morning on a private flight that landed at Jet Aviation. Mr. Davis was welcomed on the tarmac by the party's deputy leader, Chester Cooper, Chairman Fred Mitchell, Commissioner of Police Paul Roll, and Bishop Neil Ellis. Mr. Davis answered several questions before entering the terminal to greet the new members of Parliament. He was asked by the media if he is able to give an indication on which cabinet portfolios he's looking to establish.
Well, we are working on those issues right now, my transition team. We are going to be working all day today to settle on those matters, determining what portfolios will go in which ministries, deciding how many ministries, how large my cabinet will be, and then determining who will fit those slots.
Mr. Davis was also asked how many female members of Parliament will he be considering for cabinet positions.
For the first time, we've had 7 women elected to Parliament, and the 7 of them were PLPs. I'm so grateful to them. As I said, we'll be working on those specifics right now, the generalities.
The newly elected Prime Minister was then asked his thoughts on the support he has in his constituency in the face of the all-out attack on his record in Cat Island, Rum Cay, and San Salvador.
I met with them this morning, met with San Salvador this morning to thank them for what they were with me from 1992. I want them to know that this journey was not just about me, but with them.
It is expected that a ceremonial swearing-in for Mr. Davis will take place tomorrow at 10 a.m. Well, off the heels of that landslide election win, Progressive Liberal Party Chairman and newly elected Member of Parliament for Fox Hill, Fred Mitchell, was on hand at the party's headquarters last evening to speak with the press in the absence of the Prime Minister. Mr. Mitchell congratulating Mr. Davis on a well-ran campaign.
The campaign was of a very high standard, decency and order, in the face of some of the most vile and nasty attacks that we've seen in the history of the running of campaigns in this country. It was not necessary to fight that kind of campaign, and I am obliged to honor him for restraining himself, not responding in kind. And so this sets a very high standard for the young people who are looking on at these processes to say this is how you fight a campaign.
This victory for the PLP follows a crushing defeat at the polls back in 2017. Mr. Mitchell reflects on that crushing defeat and how that affected the party. 4.5 years ago, we experienced a bad night. And on that evening, as we licked our wounds, some of us went to the side and said, okay, it's time to get back in the shack and start pacing again, because New Year's is coming, Boxing Day is over. As a result of that, the team you see here, Ms. Barbara Cartwright, who runs the executive arm of the party, and all of the various organs of the party were retooled. On the campaign trail, the PLP promised to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic, grow the economy, and provide relief for marginalized Bahamians. Official election results are expected to be confirmed this evening. 2 hours after the polls closed officially yesterday, outgoing Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis conceded defeat to Progressive Liberal Party leader. He opted not to face cameras last evening, but instead wrote a statement to the Bahamian public. Jerino Saunders was posted at the F&M headquarters on election night and has this report.
As the nation wakes up this morning, Bahamians begin a new day here in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas under the leadership of Philip Brave Davis and the Progressive Liberal Party. The polls closed at 6 p.m. on Thursday evening, and it was unusually early that the Prime Minister, Dr. Hubert Minnis, through the party's national coordinator, Dr. Nigel Lewis, informed press members at the FNM's Mackey Street headquarters that he was preparing a concession speech despite the polls not being closed for even 2 hours shortly before 8 p.m. Initially, reporters at the FNM headquarters expected Dr. Lewis to read the concession statement made by Dr. Minnis, but that did not happen as the statement was released immediately after Dr. Minnis called incoming Prime Minister Philip Brave Davis to congratulate him and the PLP on their victory. In a statement, Dr. Minnis began by thanking Bahamians for the last 4 years. He went on to say, and I quote, "Tonight, I spoke with the leader of the Progressive Liberal Party, Philip Davis, and offered my congratulations to him and his party on their victory at the polls. I offered him my best wishes as his government now faces the continued fight against COVID-19 and the restoration of our economy. I would like to thank the tens of thousands of Bahamians from across the Bahamas who voted for the Free National Movement candidates. I would also like to congratulate the FNM candidates who won seats in the House of Assembly. I am in that number. And again, my gratitude goes out to the people of Killarney for making me their representative for the 4th consecutive time. I will lead the Free National Movement in the House as the leader of Her Majesty's loyal opposition. The Bahamas has a proud democratic tradition. The people decide who serves as government. Our party presented its vision for the future for Bahamians from the northern islands of Grand Bahama and Abaco all the way to the southern islands of Maikal. The people determined that they prefer the Progressive Liberal Party. My party and I accept this result. We are proud of our record the past 4+ years." End quote. Dr. Minnis went on to remind that during the 4 years they faced the most difficult times in Bahamian history, including the strongest hurricane to hit the Bahamas, and 6 months later, the COVID-19 pandemic. He said throughout each crisis, his government worked hard to assist the Bahamian people. Dr. Minnis then took a moment to highlight some of his party's accomplishments and plans they had going forward. Dr. Minnis went on to say, and I quote, "We did not win this time, but I say to the next generation of FNMs that you should stay firm to this party's founding ideals. Always put people first and be honest in government. The people have asked us to be the opposition. We will ensure the people's resources are spent properly. We will ensure there is accountability. We will oppose when necessary." As he wrapped up his statement, Dr. Minnis thanked his wife, Patricia, his family, officers, members, and supporters of the FNM and Bahamian people in general. In the final quote from Dr. Minnis as Prime Minister, he says, and I quote, "You trust in the God who has brought us this far. Trust that he will bring us further to brighter times. Again, thank you, and may God bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas." End quote. Jcn Saunders for JCN News.
So what's first on the agenda for the Progressive Liberal Party administration? Fred Mitchell says reviving the country's economy is #1 on the priority list, particularly as a result of the global pandemic.
The pandemic is something that we must try to solve. There has to be a lot of public education going forward on this issue. We have to understand what the statistics actually mean and ensure that the public health is protected so that the economy can develop. But I would think those are the twin issues that must be tackled forthwith.
The PLP's economic plan promises to reduce value-added tax to 10% across the board, noting that there will be additional VAT relief. The party also promises to phase in a livable wage, recommending that the National Tripartite Council to move towards a minimum wage of $250 per week. The new government also promising an immediate full assessment of the true state of the country's finances. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.